Thank you very much. I'm Alina Saeed, and I work as the Agriculture Manager for Mallee Regional Innovation Center. And we represent the Northwest Irrigated Horticulture Node for Victorian Drought Hub. Today, I'm going to talk about the drought consultations process, how this process has worked for us, how we have utilized it following the philosophy of Victorian Drought Hub, how we have identified a few projects, and then what are certain lessons that we have learned. So a few broader aims that we had when we were doing these drought consultations were that we wanted to identify certain opportunities and priorities that can help to improve the drought resilience in the Mallee region. But not only that, we wanted a legacy and a foundation for an ongoing collaboration with those communities to enhance the drought resilience in the region. With these two broader aims, we pretty much followed on the Vic Drought Hub Innovation, Vic Drought and Innovation Hub's four-phase drought cycle explanation into how we carry these consultations. I won't go into detail because many people have covered that we follow this drought cycle of good period leading to an uncertain period when you're into drought, and then you are into recovery period. So how we have conducted this process is that Big Drought Hub at the partners have actually designed a toolkit, and that toolkit comes with a set of questions designed around each phase of this cycle. It's an ORIT template that talks about, that asks questions around the questions which are objective, interpretive, result-oriented. They talk about their interpretive, objective, and they're result-oriented as well. They talk about, for example, I can share that we asked people, what are your experiences from the last drought? What were certain things that worked for you, what that didn't work for you, what were certain gaps that you identified? And if you had like an ABC thing to do an XYZ, what is that ABC things and what are those XYZ that you're trying to achieve? So having this toolkit with us, we do the facilitated sessions with the community. We go to the community. Usually, it's an Eventbrite invite. We explain what we are trying to do, and when there is interest, and we of course touch base with many farmer organizations in the region, so we're not clashing with their events. So once people have registered, we actually bring them into a group together on a date that is convenient for all to attend, and then it's a facilitated session. We run that session around each cycle, each phase of drought cycle, and then people actually sit together, do their brainstorming, come up with their ideas, and we actually put those ideas. Then we come back and put that into a report. We maintain our continuity of this connection and engagement with the growers. We go back to them and we share that draft report with them to make sure that we have captured what they've told us. So the continuity of this connection and engagement is important, because that's how they help you to identify projects that are of a priority that they want us to take up. And then with the same group, then we find our stakeholders who come together to co-design that project. And we bring that project, once it is co-designed, to Vic Hub, and then we take it back and implement with the same stakeholders. So continuity and engagement is an important part that we try to maintain throughout the process. We have conducted the first round of consultations between 2022 and 2023. Many sessions were online because it was the COVID duration, and we have spoken with small groups, organizations, councils, statutory bodies, departments, banks, and rural financial counseling services. We have released our first report in November. Please feel free to get a copy from the table outside. This is the first drought consultation summary report, but this is not it. We have continued our second round of consultations, and this time round, we are talking to the growers, to the peak industry bodies, agriculture service providers, and we have also included the health service providers, because from the first drought consultations, we we had a consistent theme coming up, which was around mental health. So this time we have spoken with the health organizations in the region as well. So we have closed the conversations until June, and we are in the process of writing the report. But then we will go back to the communities again, to the stakeholders, to double check what we have captured. And once they say, yeah, here you go, and then that's where we come in and we release the report publicly. So a few projects that we identified through those first round of drought consultations are Horticulture Skills Capacity Development Framework report. That is, again, outside on the table if you would like a copy. That report actually looked at the regional skills passport, looking at different industry sectors, what were the skill demands, and in what season, what kind of skill set is needed in the region. So that is all captured in that report. That report was completed in 2022. And water allocation forecasting project. Well, this is an interesting project that came up through those drought consultations, and that was identified when we were doing those first round of consultations. This is actually a project based on the proof of concept project that was done for Goulburn River system, and it is being tested for Murray River system now. And the idea is to, this project is looking at managing drought risk through new water allocation outlooks, because when they tested it for Murray River system, it provides them with real-time stream flow forecasts, and that has reduced the uncertainty of water allocation by 50% for Goulburn Murray River system. So we are now testing it for Murray River system. The other project that we identified was Blue Green Algae project. Excuse me. So Blue Green Algae, again, we were doing these drought consultations, and water corporations came together, and they said, you know, the priority in the region is that you look at this thing, that the blue green algae incidence and accumulation increases at the time of drought. And there are a lot of agribusinesses around in the region. And then what are certain, how to understand this accumulation phenomena, and how to put some certain strategies, kind of taking a HACCP approach to how to put in some feasibility options and look at some treatment options through this process. So the water allocation forecasting project that I mentioned before, this is the work going on with Melbourne University and MDBA. And then Blue Green Algae project is with Monash University, Water Research Australia, and water corporations in the region. So both these projects are underway. Identified through those people, identified as priorities by the people, and then they're coming to an end in the end of June, and currently the data analysis and report, not the report writing, but data analysis is underway. So we're still waiting on the results. It will be too early to talk about the results, but they're pretty much coming to, they will be completed very soon. Other themes that we have identified that came up as consistent themes through these consultations were form management deposits and the mental health, as I mentioned before. So what we have learned through this process is that people were talking about the drought, but within their institutions. So this is the first time we have captured the institutional memory of drought. As if you go through this report, you will find out. So people in the region were quite enthusiastic to reach out for this report, because this is the first time we have captured that institutional memory of drought. It has also increased our education in terms of horticulture sector. Not everything is on form. Both these projects are off form. So that was a learning about the sector in particular. There are certain decision-making trigger points. And around those trigger points, some data and analysis is required so that people are able to make better decisions. As I mentioned with the water allocation forecasting project, if the water allocation uncertainty is reduced by 50%, then there are important decisions that they're making. They're thinking of drying off some patches in the orchards. It may be a few patches, or it may be very many. So it minimizes the need to kind of dry off the orchards and vineyards that is happening in the region. So water allocation forecasting project would not be a subject, would not be a topic if we had not done these drought consultations in the region. So it was identified to us as a priority. We are hoping to get some new insights from Blue Green Algae research. There were people who were making observations, but it was sitting within each of the water corporation. But this drought consultation process actually provided them a platform to come together, share their experiences, talk about it, and then they helped us co-design this whole project. And then we were able to bring it back to the Victorian Drought Hub so that we could take it back for implementation. So we have learned a lot about the knowledge of water market mechanisms and water risk management. Not that it did not exist, but we have been able to capture it through this drought consultation process. It was existing, people were talking about it, they know everything. They told us, and it is captured in the reports. So this has been possible through this consultation process. So some other lessons that we have learned are that recovery in horticulture is not that quick. If somebody has done some stumping on the citrus orchards, or they have dried off some patches and they were replanting their orchard, recovery is not that quick. It might take 4 years to recover, to come back. And if there are consecutive periods of droughts coming up, then there are exits from farming as well. A lot of dried fruit growers had to sell their orchards, and Merbeen is is an example in the region. But there are many others who exit from the farming. And we heard in the drought consultations that you take the horticulture out of Sunraysia region, what is left there then? So, and then a few other observations, like the farming communities feel the drought first. Then it moves to other sectors like transport and the agriculture service providers. And then it travels to the retail industries. But the impacts on the communities are kind of delayed. But they do happen one after the other. In the current round of consultations, we've also heard that, the schools even need to see how many children are coming to the school tours if they're happening, because there are many families who just sail and they just move away from the region. So, there is some irresponsible kind of reporting, I guess, which affects tourism in the region. And there are so many people that are related with those industries, so there are effects on them. People have also told us that every drought is different. It depends on which season it happens, depends on what crop stage it is. At the time of almonds, hull splitting, maybe they don't need much water. It doesn't matter at the time of fruit ripening too. But if it is happening at the time of bud break, then it can be very harmful, and it will have long-lasting impacts. We've also heard that people want to hear more around the improved drought-tolerant varieties be introduced in the region. But another observation is that people are telling us now, bring something back to us so that, water, we can do something about the soils. How can we increase the soils' water holding capacity to be able to deal with the next drought? So these are the type of preparations that they're talking about. We find this thing in the community that they're willing to admit that, we have to prepare for the next drought. We shouldn't forget what we learned in the past, and we should be taking some innovations or making some changes to be able to deal with the next drought, or we should be resilient enough when the next drought comes in. So what is very important to me as a person coming from a background where I've always worked with the small farmers in abroad, not here, but they, when the projects are given to them from the top, we want a health project for this community. Vic Hub has not done that with us. So we go to the community and we talk to them, and the project actually stems out from them. They identify the priority, and people's willingness to share, trust, respond, and take a follow-up, like wherever they see us, they say, when is the report coming out? What are the next steps? So what happens with the water allocation forecasting project? So there are people who are actually returning these reports to me with written notes on them where they think we should be considering those aspects. There are written responses and there are emails follow up. Retired dried fruit growers, they actually sent me emails. Oh, I forgot to say that during the conversation, but there are a few more other points to be included when you write the report. So this response is great. And a recent visit to Wurini, for example, they wanted us, they appreciated that they were being consulted and that we reached out to them. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Alina. Sorry, I have to play the bad cop. We're just getting a few minutes behind, but